Café of Forgotten Dreams. Chapter 1. The Mysterious Café. In the quiet town of Velmyra, in the magical land of Norvalen, there was a small café hidden between old buildings. The buildings were made of stone and wood, with vines growing on the walls. The café stood in a narrow street, where few people walked. It had no name on the door, no lights outside, and no music playing. But people still found it. They found it when they felt tired, sad, or lost. They found it when they needed peace, even if they didn't know it. People called it Café of Forgotten Dreams. No one remembered when it opened. Some said it had always been there. Others said it appeared only when someone needed it. The café looked simple. It had wooden chairs, small round tables, and soft yellow curtains. A few candles burned in glass jars. The air smelled like cinnamon and honey. It was warm inside, even on cold days. The walls were filled with old paintings and shelves of books. Some books had no titles. Some paintings looked like memories. The owner of the café was a woman named Lira. She was kind and quiet. She was not young, not old. Her hair was silver and soft. She always wore a green scarf around her neck. Her eyes were gentle and calm. She moved slowly, like someone who listened to the wind. She served tea and cakes to every guest. The tea was always warm, and the cakes were sweet but not too sweet. People said her food made them feel safe. Lira never asked questions. She never spoke much. But when people sat in her café, they began to talk. They talked about things they had forgotten. They talked about dreams they had lost. They spoke softly, sometimes without knowing why. Some cried. Some smiled. Some just sat in silence. But when they left, they felt lighter. Their hearts felt less heavy. They didn't know what had changed, but something had. The café had a strange magic. It didn't shine or sparkle. It didn't make noise. But it listened. It held stories. It gave people a place to rest. And sometimes, it helped them let go. Lira watched them come and go. She didn't stop them. She didn't guide them. She only gave them tea, a quiet table, and time. That was enough. No one knew where Lira came from. No one knew where she went at night. But the café stayed open. It waited for the next visitor. It waited for the next forgotten dream. Chapter 2. The Visitor Named Tomas. One rainy morning, the sky over Velmyra was gray and quiet. The streets were wet, and people walked fast under umbrellas. In the middle of this rainy day, a man named Tomas found the small café. He had never been there before, but something pulled him inside. Tomas was a painter. He used to paint every day. His paintings were full of color and emotion. But now, he had not painted in many years. His hands were still strong, but his heart felt heavy. He carried sadness with him, like a shadow that never left. Tomas was in his 40s. He had short brown hair and tired eyes. His coat was old, and his shoes were wet from the rain. He looked like someone who had walked a long way, not just through the town, but through life. When he entered the café, the warm air touched his skin. The smell of tea and cake made him feel safe. Lira saw him and gave him a small smile. She brought him a cup of warm tea and showed him a table near the window. The candle on the table flickered gently. Tomas sat down and looked outside. The rain fell slowly, making soft sounds on the glass. He didn't plan to speak, but the quiet room made him feel open. His voice was low and slow. He began to talk about a painting he once made. It was a portrait of his younger sister. She had passed away many years ago. The painting was beautiful, full of love and memory. But one day, Tomas destroyed it. He couldn't look at it anymore. It hurt too much. He said he wanted to forget that pain, to erase it from his life. Lira listened without saying a word. She didn't ask questions. She didn't interrupt. She simply stayed near, letting Tomas speak. He didn't know why he shared this story. He hadn't told anyone before. But in that cafe, with the rain outside and the candlelight around him, the words came easily. He felt like the cafe understood him, even without answers. When Tomas finished his tea, he stood up slowly. His shoulders felt lighter. His steps were softer. He didn't feel happy, but he felt calm. Something inside him had changed. The pain was still there, but it didn't feel so heavy. As he walked out into the rain, he looked back at the cafe. It looked small and quiet, but to him, it felt like a place where something important had happened. He didn't know what would come next, but he knew he had taken a first step. Chapter 3. The Dream of a Stranger. The next morning, the sky over Velmyra was clear. The rain had stopped, and the streets were quiet again. A young woman named Elen walked slowly through the town. She was a student at the local art school. She loved painting, colors, and shapes, but for many weeks she had felt empty. Her ideas were gone. Her hands were ready to paint, but her heart had no pictures. She felt sad and confused. She didn't know why her inspiration had disappeared. Elen had heard about a small cafe from another student. They said it was a quiet place where people felt better. She didn't know the name, but she found it easily. It was hidden between old buildings, with soft light coming from the windows. She opened the door and stepped inside. The warm smell of tea and cake made her feel safe. The room was calm, with candles and soft chairs. She saw a table near the window and sat down. It was the same table Tomas had used the day before. Lira brought her a cup of tea and a small cake. Elen looked outside at the street. The sun was shining, but her thoughts were cloudy. As she drank her tea, something strange happened. A picture came into her mind. It was clear and strong. She saw a girl with bright eyes standing in the rain. The girl looked peaceful and sad at the same time. Elen didn't know who the girl was. She had never seen her before. But the image stayed in her mind like a dream. Elen finished her tea and left the cafe. She walked quickly to her small studio. She took out her brushes and canvas. Her hands moved fast, like they knew what to do. She painted the girl from her mind. The rain, the eyes, the feeling, it all came together. When she finished, she looked at the painting and felt something deep inside. It was beautiful, and it felt important. She didn't understand why, but she knew this painting was special. Later, she showed the painting to her teacher. The teacher said it was her best work. Elen felt proud, but also curious. Where did the image come from? She didn't know that Tomas had once painted the same girl. She didn't know that he had destroyed that painting in pain. Somehow, his forgotten memory had traveled through the cafe and reached her. It became her dream, her inspiration. The cafe had done something quiet and magical. It had taken a memory full of sadness and turned it into a new beginning. Elen didn't understand the magic, but she felt thankful. She started painting again, with new ideas and new hope. The cafe had given her more than tea. It had given her a dream. Chapter 4. More stories shared. Days passed, and the cafe stayed quiet and warm. More people came through its small wooden door. They didn't come because of signs or advertisements. They came because something inside them needed rest. The cafe was never full, but it was never empty. It welcomed one person at a time, like it knew who needed it most. One morning, a baker named Elen entered. He had strong hands and a tired face. He used to own a small bakery in Velmyra, but it had closed after a fire. He had worked hard for many years, waking up early, baking bread, and serving the town. After the fire, he lost everything. He felt like he had failed. In the cafe, he sat near the window and drank tea. Slowly, he spoke about the bakery, the smell of fresh bread, and the silence after the fire. He said he wanted to forget the pain of losing his dream. Later that week, a young woman named Lira came to the cafe. She was learning to cook and wanted to open a bakery one day. She sat at the same table and felt something warm in her heart. She didn't know why, but she imagined a bakery with golden bread and smiling customers. That night, she wrote down her first recipe. She didn't know Elen, but his memory had become her dream. Another day, a teacher named Sarah visited the cafe. She was older, with gray hair and kind eyes. She had taught many students, but she remembered one mistake from her youth. She had once punished a student unfairly and never said sorry. It stayed in her heart for years. In the cafe, she shared this story softly. She said she wanted to forget the guilt. A few days later, a young man named Leo came to the cafe. He was studying to become a teacher. He sat at Sarah's table and felt a strong thought in his mind. He promised himself to always be fair, to listen, and to be kind. He didn't know Sarah, but her regret had become his guide. Then came a traveler named Ryan. He had walked across many lands and seen many places. He had once promised someone he would return, but he never did. That broken promise stayed with him. In the cafe, he spoke about it and said he wanted to forget the shame. Later, a girl named Lira came to the cafe. She dreamed of traveling but was afraid to leave home. She sat at Ryan's table and felt courage grow inside her. She packed her bag the next day and took her first journey. She didn't know Ryan, but his story gave her strength. The cafe became a quiet place of exchange. People came with heavy hearts and left with lighter steps. No one knew how it worked. There was no magic people could see. But something passed from one person to another. Sadness became hope. Regret became wisdom. Pain became dreams. Lira never explained anything. She only smiled and served tea. Her green scarf moved gently as she walked. She listened with her eyes and her silence. She didn't need to speak. The cafe spoke for her. It was a place where forgotten stories found new life. Chapter 5. Lira's Secret. One quiet evening, the sky over Velmyra turned orange and pink. The streets were almost empty, and the wind moved slowly through the trees. Tomas walked back to the cafe. He had not been there for many days. Since his first visit, he had started painting again. His heart still felt heavy sometimes, but he was not afraid of his memories anymore. He wanted to thank Lira. He wanted to understand how the cafe helped people so gently. When Tomas entered, the cafe was calm as always. The candles were lit, and the soft smell of tea filled the air. Lira stood behind the counter, wearing her green scarf. She looked at Tomas and gave him a small smile. He sat at the same table near the window. A candle burned quietly in front of him. He asked Lira how the cafe worked. He wanted to know why people felt better after visiting. He wanted to know how memories could become dreams for someone else. Lira didn't answer with words. She looked at the candle for a long time. Her eyes were soft but deep. Tomas saw something in her eyes. It was not sadness, but something close. It was a quiet story that she didn't speak. He understood that Lira had once lost something too. Maybe she had lost a dream. Maybe she had lost someone she loved. Maybe she had carried pain for many years. But instead of hiding from it, she had built the cafe. The cafe was not a place to forget. It was a place to share. It was a place where pain could change shape. Lira had created a space where memories could move from one heart to another. She didn't erase pain. She didn't fix broken dreams. But she helped people carry their stories in a new way. She gave them tea, silence, and time. And that was enough. Tomas didn't ask more questions. He didn't need to. He saw the truth in Lira's quiet eyes. She had turned her own pain into something beautiful. She had made a home for forgotten dreams. She had given people a chance to heal, not by forgetting, but by sharing. The cafe was her gift to the town, and to anyone who needed peace. That night, Tomas left the cafe with a warm heart. He didn't feel alone anymore. He knew that even quiet people could carry great stories. He knew that even small places could hold deep magic. And he knew that Lira's secret was not about silence, it was about kindness. Chapter 6. A New Beginning. Tomas began to paint again. He cleaned his old brushes and opened the windows of his small studio. The light came in, and the air felt fresh. He didn't try to make perfect art. He just painted what he felt. His hands moved slowly, but his heart was open. He painted memories, dreams, and quiet moments. People saw his new paintings and felt something inside. They said his art was soft and strong at the same time. Tomas smiled more often. He didn't forget his pain, but he learned to live with it. Elen opened a small gallery near the river. She painted every day and showed her work to others. Her gallery was simple, with white walls and soft music. People came to see her paintings and stayed to talk. Elen listened to their stories and sometimes painted them. She said her ideas came from feelings, not from books. Her painting of the girl in the rain became very popular. Visitors said it made them feel calm and brave. Elen felt proud, but also thankful. She knew her dream had started in a quiet cafe. The baker, Joran, found a new place to work. He opened a small shop with fresh bread and warm cakes. He didn't try to make it big. He just wanted to bake again. People came in the morning and smiled when they smelled the bread. Joran talked to his customers and gave free cookies to children. He said the cafe helped him remember why he loved baking. His shop became a happy place in Velmyra. Sarah, the teacher, wrote a book about kindness and learning. She wrote simple stories from her life and added lessons for young teachers. Her book was not famous, but many people read it and felt inspired. She gave copies to schools and libraries. She said the cafe helped her forgive herself. She didn't forget her mistake, but she used it to help others grow. Ryan, the traveler, returned home after many years. He visited his old village and saw people he had left behind. He said sorry to someone he once hurt. He didn't expect forgiveness, but he felt peace. He started writing about his travels and shared his stories with young people. He told them that promises are important and that it's never too late to return. All of them had found something in the cafe. Not answers, but peace. The cafe didn't fix their lives. It gave them a quiet space to listen, to feel, and to begin again. It stayed hidden between old buildings, waiting for the next visitor. It didn't need signs or loud voices. Its magic was soft and slow. Lira continued to serve tea. Her green scarf moved gently in the wind when she opened the door. She watched people come and go. She didn't ask questions. She didn't give advice. She just gave time, warmth, and silence. She knew that dreams never die. They only change hands. And sometimes, a forgotten dream becomes the beginning of someone else's story. Moral: pain is not the end. When shared, it becomes a seed for someone else's hope. Even forgotten dreams can grow again in the hearts of others. Thank you for your attention. If you like the story, please like and subscribe. It motivates us to make new videos and helps us promote the channel. Thank you.